Most people will never know this, but the banking system controlling trillions today was born almost a millennium ago. It was built not in skyscrapers or boardrooms, but in cloistered abbeys, guarded by knights, bound by vows of secrecy. The Knights Templar, founded in 1119, were far more than warriors. They were the first international bankers, moving gold, jewels, and financial instruments across Europe and the Holy Land. Wealth flowed through their hands, lending to kings, financing crusades, and creating the first secure vaults. This is still happening today, and every modern bank, central bank, and shadow financial network owes its blueprint to the Templars. Most people will never know this because textbooks only highlight their battles and pious missions, hiding the fact that the Templars developed letters of credit, early checks, and cross-border deposits. In an era plagued by bandits, unpredictable rulers, and war, the Templars offered a trusted system to transfer wealth safely. Here is what they done. Want you to see their banking model was designed for power, leverage, and control. It allowed them to influence politics, dictate loans, and consolidate assets in ways that still define modern finance. This is still happening today under different names, but the structure remains. By 1307, when King Philip IV of France orchestrated the Templars' downfall, the ostensible charge was heresy. The real reason was far more practical. Philip owed the Templars massive sums. By accusing them and seizing their assets, he centralized wealth and strengthened state power. Most people will never know this, but history is filled with iterations of this same pattern. Elites absorbing debt, controlling liquidity, and consolidating financial influence. This is still happening today in the methods used by central banks, investment conglomerates, and shadow banking networks. The Templar system innovated trust on a global scale. Wealth deposited in one location could be retrieved in another. Merchants and nobles traveled safely without gold in their pockets, relying on letters of credit guaranteed by Templar vaults. Most people will never know this, but this was the prototype for modern banking networks. By the 1600s, the Bank of Amsterdam adopted similar mechanisms, enabling deposits, bills of exchange, and merchant credits to flow across borders. The Bank of England in 1694 borrowed heavily from these structures, institutionalizing trust, leverage, and centralized control. This is still happening today. Every SWIFT transaction, every secured wire transfer echoes the Templar model. Consider 6 undeniable examples of their influence. Letters of credit, used to fund trade across continents, allowing wealth to move securely without physical transport. Vault systems, the precursor to safe deposit boxes and central bank reserves. Debt instruments, loans to monarchs and nobles laid the groundwork for government bonds. Secrecy and discretion, early methods of protecting assets now mirrored in trusts and offshore accounts. International networks enabled cross-border capital flows, evolving into modern global financial systems. Integration of religion, government, and finance, used to legitimize authority today, mirrored in central bank influence over national economies. Most people will never know this, but each modern financial structure owes its DNA to these medieval innovators. This is still happening today in corporate conglomerates, shadow banks, and even digital financial ecosystems. Fast forward to the 20th and 21st centuries. Templar-like structures manifest in shadow banking, private equity, and hedge funds. International conglomerates operate with near-complete autonomy across borders. Cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance, and programmable money echo Templar anonymity, while central banks mirror the Templars' vault systems, now digital and global. Most people will never know this, but the principles of trust, secrecy, and leverage continue to shape wealth distribution and control. This is still happening today in 2025, 2026, and beyond. The next few years are pivotal. Laws, digital infrastructure, and financial regulations are quietly being aligned to increase control over capital. In 2025, we see accelerated adoption of central bank digital currencies, much like Templar letters of credit evolved into bank money. By 2026, programmable money trials could link access to spending to behavior, echoing the Templar principle of conditional trust. Wealth only moves according to rules. Most people will never know this, but the lessons of the 12th century are being applied digitally today. This is still happening today, and those who understand it can anticipate and protect their wealth. History repeats in patterns. After the Templars, European financial empires evolved. Merchants, banks, city-state treasuries, and colonial companies mirrored their methods. They created invisible networks that moved capital, leveraged debt, and influenced politics. Most people will never know this, but modern derivatives, high-frequency trading, and global liquidity networks are the digital echoes of Templar ingenuity. This is still happening today as central banks, investment funds, and multinational corporations coordinate in ways invisible to the public. Who wins and who loses in this system? The winners are financial institutions, multinational corporations, and the elite who can manipulate cross-border money flows. They wield the invisible power of credit, leverage, and digital infrastructure. The losers are ordinary citizens, small businesses, and anyone dependent on physical cash or unaware of these structures. Most people will never know this, but the more integrated the system becomes, the harder it is to opt out. This is still happening today, and history shows that once centralized control is established, resistance becomes difficult. By 2027, digital banking protocols may fully mirror Templar-era trust systems, but automated, enforceable, and global. By 2028, cross-border capital flows will largely be invisible to the public, yet fully traceable to institutions. By 2029, programmable money will allow authorities to influence spending behavior, echoing the Templar method of conditional control. Most people will never know this, but the pattern is undeniable. Centralized trust and power allow a few to dominate many. This is still happening today, and ignoring it ensures you remain trapped in a system whose rules you cannot control. The implications are profound. Every transaction, from retail purchases to investment transfers, passes through systems tracing their origins to the Templars' vaults and letters of credit. Each technological and regulatory update, blockchain, CBDCs, real-time payments, is another layer built on centuries-old principles. Most people will never know this, but knowledge is the first defense. This is still happening today, and the choices in 2025 to 2030 will determine whether you remain a passive participant or gain insight into global financial power. The warning is clear. Study the mechanisms of money. Understand the networks of influence. Learn the historical precedents that persist. The Knights Templar were innovators in secrecy, finance, and control, and their legacy shapes the world now. Most people will never know this, but awareness is your first shield. This is still happening today, and those who grasp it early will be the ones who preserve wealth, autonomy, and freedom in the coming decade. If this video woke you up, drop a like and subscribe. New forbidden truth every single day. Turn on notifications, the next one might save your wealth. Comment the one thing you're doing right now to prepare. I read every single one.